Time for the main event!
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It looks like the reviews are in for Dead or Alive 6 Last Round, and they're kind of all over the place depending on what platform you play on. So we're going to go check that out today. Also, I got my new camera, as you can see, but for some reason I can't figure out the settings because it makes my face look really shiny, and I swear, I don't have a shiny face. Anyway, with that being said, let's go over to Metacritic and let's look at the overall reviews for Dead or Alive Last Round. Dead or Alive 6 Last Round, and let's see if it's worth picking up or if you should wait for a sale. Alright, we're going to start off with the PlayStation 5 version. The overall Metacritic score is 76, and as I said, it really depends on what platform you're on. Of course, the poor Xbox version has one review as of the making of this video. Xbox always gets the shaft when it comes to reviews and everything because most people play on PlayStation or PC, and even the Switch too. It really just shows how far behind the Xbox is, and I am an Xbox fan. I mostly play on PlayStation, but that's mainly because Xbox gave up. And if Xbox never gave up, I'd probably still be on Xbox. I just kind of defaulted to PlayStation because I thought the Xbox was going to go to the way of the Dreamcast. And I was a Dreamcast guy. The Dreamcast was awesome. Anyway, that being said, here are the overall review scores. Digitally downloaded gave it a perfect score, 100. It says it has been several years since Koei Tecmo even indicated that it saw a future in Dead or Alive. So frankly, it's just a relief that Dead or Alive 6 Last Round happened at all. While Dead or Alive 7 was really exciting recent news, this is the definitive version of a brilliant, funny, sexy, mechanically entertaining fighting game that I've loved stepping back into its ring, or he loved stepping back into the ring. So that's great news, and that's pretty much how I feel about the game. I haven't got a chance to play the new version of it yet because, well, I don't get an early copy. I haven't been covering it for years, but I haven't been a fan since the very first game. PlayStation Lifestyle gave it an 80. It says, with most interesting new content coming mostly down the line, Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is difficult to fully judge at launch. It looks and plays great, so it should tide over fans as they wait for the 7th entry in the fighting game franchise. However, it's hard not to be somewhat underwhelmed by most of the levels not supporting the new lighting engine and crossover DLC characters not coming with the base game. So this is a super fair, I want to say, review. There's also a confirmed new character coming to the game. There was a review, I can't remember where it was at. I saw it right before I started making this video, so I'll leave a link in the description down below for that too. So it sounds like the game at launch is just going to be bare bones with, you know, new lighting, new visuals and all that kind of stuff, and then all the new DLC, the characters, the costumes, all that kind of stuff, and even some new features, it sounds like, for the game will be added in at a later date, which is crazy to me why they wouldn't just delay it until all that stuff's ready, especially if Dead or Alive 7 is a ways off. Maybe they found a nice little cranny to release the game where not a ton of releases were coming out, but well, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited to play it regardless. Everybody says it looks fantastic on the PlayStation 5 version with its upgrades and everything, but yeah. Then we'll skip down here to some of the negative ones. So a 60, worth playing, says taken on its own, Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is still a solid fighting game. The adjustments to the core combat system improve accessibility without sacrificing depth for more advanced players. The roster is strong, especially now that previous DLC characters are included, but customization feels noticeably thin once DLC costumes are set aside. However, the requirement to repurchase characters like Kula and Mai, combined with the lack of meaningful presentation upgrades behind a single reworked stage, makes this feel like a minor and somewhat underwhelming revision, especially given how long players have waited. If you're new to the series and enjoy fighting games, Dead or Alive 6 is still worth a look. For anyone who has already invested significant time in the original release, there's little incentive to return unless future updates expand the lighting improvements across more stages or introduce a substantial wave of new characters. So yeah, as it said up above, basically out of the gate, day one, it's going to just feel like the old game but with prettier visuals and a new camera system where you can actually take cool pictures and pose them and do stuff like that, kind of like a diorama. Other games have done that. But down the line, it sounds like they're going to have big plans for updates, for new characters, for a bunch of DLC costumes. I just hope they don't piss off the fan base again to where they basically abandon this game like they did with 6, because that kind of sucks. Hopefully, if they do have the hair color change option come back, it's free. The only thing they should charge for is costumes and characters. That's it. Everything else added to the game should be included for free, unless, of course, it's the core, the core fighters version, the free-to-play version. All right, on to the PC version. Now, overall on PC, based off of, looks like 6 reviews, it's a 60. Now, the PC version, Steam, the original version of the game got delisted, along with being able to buy DLC for that version. So you can still play it, you can still use anything you've purchased for it, but it sounds like if you want to play online, you have to go get the new version of the game, because everything else has been shut down. Correct me in the comments down below, I haven't really looked into that, but for that sucks. PC version got the shaft, I think, on how they're doing this. Anyway, DualShockers gave it a 70 for PC. It says Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is the ultimate edition of 2019's Dead or Alive 6. It offers absolutely no new content outside a pretty decent photo mode. So if you haven't played it yet, now is the time. If you already own DOA 6, however, there's almost nothing here that can be recommended for newcomers. Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is going to be an electric experience, and it's guaranteed to be one of the best fighters this year purely by the will of its savage gameplay. For vets, however, it may indeed be DOA. That's pretty harsh. Let's go down here to Hardcore Gamer. It gave it a 60. Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is a solid offering for new and existing players, but it definitely doesn't feel like a complete package. While it comes with most of the downloadable characters, half of the skins' outfits remained behind paywall, and the overall experience and UI feel dated at this point. It doesn't help the story mode is dreadful, and there's not a lot to do outside of competitive online matches. The mechanics themselves are at the very least enjoyable, as it's still a gratifying fighting game. Yes, obviously, but everything around it falls short of anything remarkable. Despite the glamorous character models, Dead or Alive 6 Last Round feels more dated than it should. So it sounds like, yeah, out of the gate, it's pretty bare bones with updates. And then we're going to go all the way down here to the bottom. Checkpoint Gaming gave it a 50. That's really bad. It says Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is an over-the-top fighting game that is only a little afraid to get silly and sexy. It is best to temper your expectations, as this supposed definitive version, air quotes, feels well and truly like a cash grab designed to test the fans' engagement before Dead or Alive 7. Without so much as addressing any of the problems DOA 6 is notorious for, with the original ambassador for its violent, aggressive monetization practices. Violent, that's funny. Last Round feels destined to fail or fall into the same pit. I gotta stop reading so fast. So yeah, this pretty much sums up how players feel on PC, and a lot of players. The only reason I'm just happy that it's back, and I'm hoping that the money they make from this they put into DOA 7. And if we're getting new costumes, new characters, all that kind of stuff, I feel like the way these developers or these people, these reviewers, I should say, feel will change over time. But out of the gate, this seems like the consensus. It's bare bones. There's no really reason to upgrade yet. But on PC, it sounds like you kind of have to. So, yeah. Now, over on Xbox, we got one review from Day One. It says, in a vacuum, Dead or Alive 6 Last Round is a perfectly playable version of a perfectly fine fighter, but it's still a somewhat underwhelming package, all in all. Not quite enough improvements to reignite the interest around the base game, and also plenty of baffling limitations end up weighing a ton on the overall experience, one that only hardcore Dead or Alive fans might bother with. So yeah, ouch. So once again, overall, it looks like, I want to say it's about a 70, but yeah, it's pretty bad, not gonna lie. 76 overall based on 6 critic reviews. Not looking too good for the game so far. This is Day One reviews. Hopefully, as we get more content for the game, it gets better. If they try to make us rebuy DLC costumes, like I know The any collaboration stuff sounds like you have to repurchase. Obviously, Mai and Kula Diamond, but I didn't really understand that it also meant the DLC costumes. So the Gush Mashup costumes, anything that has a third-party thing in it, well, you're probably gonna have to buy those again. That to me is ridiculous and criminal, in fact. Anyway, so it sounds like we'll see if the game gets improved with characters, new levels, and all that kind of stuff down the line. It sounds like they literally just re-released the same game with the bare bones upgrades to test the waters, to see if fans would purchase it, see if fans will buy it, and then if it does really well, or if it does decent enough, then they'll continuously support the game. I'm sure they have some plans for it regardless. They probably have a couple, certain characters planned for it, but that's probably why they haven't marketed it at all and haven't really talked about it at all. They just revealed it, it's coming out, see what happens with the fan base, see who buys it, see the sales, see the engagement, see the feedback. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of negative feedback for this, and then go from there. I think that's where we're at with this game. It feels like it's literally just a way to get the game to feel like a new game, if that makes sense. Like, if they just updated the old game, it wouldn't be getting this much press and this much engagement and stuff like that over social media. So how do you feel about this? Are you still going to get the game day one if you haven't pre-ordered already? Or are you going to wait for a sale? Or are you going to wait to see what they do with the DLC going forward? I'm a little curious. Sound off the comments down below, and as always, stay frosty.